One of the worst feelings is launching a landing page and not trusting it. You've spent days, sometimes weeks, writing it, designing it, tweaking every detail. And when it's finally time to go live, there's hesitation because deep down, you don't know if it's going to convert. And that uncertainty is expensive. Not just wasted time, but lost momentum, delayed campaigns, and revenue that never shows up. Most people think that the problem is the copy or the design. It's not. The real problem is there was never a clear execution process behind the page. So people either overbuild and never launch, or rush it live and quietly kill conversions. You see, after building hundreds of landing pages over the last 9+ years or so, one thing has become obvious. The high converting pages aren't built with more creativity, they are built with better systems. Hey, if you're new here, I'm Rashid. I build conversion systems for a living, and in this video, I'm breaking down the exact execution process I use when it comes to conversion that actually matters. So let me show you how this works. So in the movie The Founder, about Ray Kroc and how he set up McDonald's, there's a scene in it that explains this perfectly. In this particular scene, the McDonald's brothers had a problem. They were busy, but slow. And when they tried to speed up, quality dropped. So they didn't work harder, they redesigned the process. They mapped out the kitchen on a tennis court, choreographed every movement, specialized every role. This is called the speedy system. And that's what this is. Not a hack, not a shortcut, a process you can repeat. So this is called, in my view, the execution system. A landing page has one job: to reduce friction and get the right buyer to convert. Not browse, not explore, not learn more, convert. So when it comes to a performance of a landing page, people use heat maps with tools like Hotjar. When you analyze a landing page with heat maps, ignore the service level activity and focus on 3 things only. What elements influence conversion? What elements distract or slow decision making? And what order information should appear in? Everything else is noise. And my execution system has 3 phases. Phase 1 is build. This is where you create the structure, write the copy and the design, the visuals. So it's framework first, then tools. Phase 2 is optimize. This is where you refine the page for readability, design quality, and speed. You know, quality control before the launch. And phase 3 is measure. This is where you validate what's working and what's not. Data over opinions, right? So those are the 3 phases, and each phase has a specific purpose. And if you skip any of these phases, you're either shipping garbage or never shipping at all. So let me break down each one. So phase 1, build. So this phase is where most people get stuck. They stare at a blank page, they overthink the copy, they keep tweaking the design. Here's how I avoid that. I don't start building until I have clarity on the structure. The structure I use is the 5-section framework for every time. Section 1 is the hero section. This is where you hook visitors immediately. Section 2 is the old way. This is where you agitate the pains. Section 3 is the new way. This is where you show the transformation, your benefits, and how it works. Section 4 is evidence. So this is where you prove it works. And lastly, section 5, call to action. So this is where you make it easy to convert with no pressure or risk. This framework forces clarity at every step. Look, you can't skip ahead. You can't start designing before you know what you're saying. Once I have this framework, I use the tools. So it goes framework, then tools. I use 3 specialized tools. Each one does one thing perfectly. Tool 1 is Framer for structure. I use Framer to build the structure of a landing page, not because it's the best tool, well, in my opinion it is, but because it's low code, fast, and optimized for page speed. I can focus on designing and testing high converting pages instead of wrestling with setup complexities with tools like a Webflow and so on. So here's my process. Go to the Framer template library, pick a template that matches your layout needs, customize it using the 5-section framework. From that, I'm 80% done in 20 minutes. The template gives me structure and I'm not starting from scratch. I'm adapting with something that's already set up for me and that already works. Tool number 2 is Claude for copy. So Claude is my favorite tool when it comes to copywriting. Once I have the structure, you need to set up the copy, okay? And this is where most people get AI wrong. They just say, write me a landing page, and they get generic corporate jargon that sounds like any other page. So here's what I do instead. I give Claude the 5-section framework and let it fill in each section with clarity. With this, I fill in the placeholders about the business, about the target market, and so on. I don't let AI create the strategy. I give it the strategy and let it execute. So use this exact prompt structure I use. What happens here is Claude fills up each section. I get structured copy that follows the framework. No generic AI copy, no corporate jargon, just clear, focused messaging about the visitor. This framework guides the AI. The AI executes the framework. That's specialization. And tool number 3 is Gemini or ChatGPT for the visuals. So once I have the structure and the copy, I need the visuals. And here's the thing, 90% of your efforts don't matter if your creative sucks. You need a pattern interrupt, something that breaks the visitor's usual flow and grabs their attention immediately. I actually call this the visual hook. But before using AI, I always try to make the page authentic. You know, product screenshots or screenshots of stats or anything like that, photos of myself or anything that adds authenticity, right? Then, once you do that, you kind of use AI as the amplifier. So when I need custom visuals and I need them fast, I use the tools like Gemini and ChatGPT. As long as I give them a nice, clean, detailed prompt. I also upload screenshots of my branding, of my logo, of the stuff I really like, and I try to get it to be as much detailed as possible to get the most quality photos and visuals as possible. So that's phase 1, which is the build phase. Framework first, Framer for structure, Claude for copy, Gemini or ChatGPT for visuals. So specialized roles, pre-proportioned ingredients, choreographed movements, like I said with the McDonald's brothers. Now you have the landing page, but it's not ready to ship just yet, which leads to phase 2, optimize. You see, this is where most people stop. They build the page, they think it looks good, they ship it. And what happens? It doesn't convert because looking good isn't enough. The page needs to be readable, it needs to load fast, and the conversion zone needs to be optimized. Here's my quality control process. Step 1 is the Hemingway app for readability. At the end of the day, consumption precedes conversion. There's no point of having a landing page if people don't consume your content. So I use the Hemingway editor to check for readability. Simply upload your copy and it highlights areas that are hard to read or overly complex. And I actually aim for the 5th grade reading level or lower. This is actually not dumbing it down. It's just making it clearer. You can have the most advanced brain in the world. People still prefer copy that is very simple and easy to read. So if your copy is too complex, people bounce. Simple as that. So run your copy through the Hemingway app, fix the highlighted sections, make it easier to read. This takes around, 10 minutes? But it's the difference between people reading your page and people skimming past it, which leads to step 2, is saslandingpage.com for design quality. Next, I check their design quality, not by asking, does this look good? But by comparing with the best websites and landing pages in the world. Here's what I do quickly. I actually go on their website called saslandingpage.com, and these are companies spending millions on their sites. And with AI tools and tools like Framer, you can try and replicate their design quality in fraction of the time. I'm not saying copying them, I'm saying study them and see what works. Look at the structure of their hero sections. How are they using their social proof? How are they positioning and structuring their whole page? How do they position their call to actions? And then from that, you want to adapt those kind of principles to your page. Because this is genius, because you're learning from companies that have tested and optimized their pages with millions in ad spend. You get the benefit from that without spending a dime. So this leads to step number 3, page speed. Page speed is one of the most critical factors of your page's success. Research shows that visitors expect a page to load in 3 seconds or less. If it takes any longer, they get frustrated and bounce. You can have the best looking landing page in the world, but if it's not fast, you're toast. Luckily, tools like Framer are optimized for web speed. The only thing I would do is when uploading images or GIFs or videos, keep them under 1 megabyte. For videos specifically, host them on platforms like Wistia or Vimeo and upload them as a link and as an embed. Once your landing page is ready, run it through a test with tools like Google Page Speed Insights. A fast site equals more conversions, plain and simple. Fix the speed issues before you launch, not after. So this leads to the final step, which is step 4, optimize for the conversion zone. Once you have a percentage of visitors scrolling down the page, focus on the conversion zone aggressively. The conversion zone is part of your landing page where a visitor stops reading and decides to take action. By the time someone reaches this section, they are already interested. So your job is to remove the doubt and make the next step feel effortless. So start by focusing on one clear action so you're not splitting attention. Reduce friction by asking for one essential information, since every extra field lowers conversion. Place trust signals as well, like testimonials, client logos, or guarantees, right next to the decision point, and reinforce the value with a short number of reminders of what they are and what they get before they click. What's in it for them? What's the value drivers? What can they expect for doing this action? Small improvements in this section don't just lift conversion rates, they improve lead quality and pipeline. Before you launch, ask yourself one simple question. Does taking the next step feel easy, or does it feel like work, especially for them? If it feels easy, you're ready to ship. So that's phase 2, optimize. Next is phase 3, measure. You see, shipping isn't the end, it's the beginning, because now you need to validate what's working and what's not. Data over opinions. Here's how I measure a landing page's performance. Method 1 is screen recordings. So I watch actual visitors on the landing page using tools like Hotjar, and one thing is clear. Your headlines and the hero image are very closely linked. The first elements your customers see when they hit your landing page. So they need to work together to create the right first impression. Here's what I look for. A good sign is if a visitor stays above the fold for 5 to 7 seconds and then scroll away down the page, that's an indication that the hero section has hooked them. And this behavior is a telltale sign of an interested buyer. But a bad sign is if the user hits the landing page and bounce immediately, there's clearly an issue with the hero section. Another bad sign is that if the user stays above the fold for just 1 or 2 seconds, scrolls down quickly down the page, then bounces, this again is an indication that the hero section is not working. If users aren't hooked by the headline and hero image, the rest of the page doesn't matter to them. Also, by the way, if you don't know what above the fold is, this refers to the portion of the web page visible immediately upon loading without requiring the user to scroll. So method number 2 is scroll maps. I use a scroll map to see what percentage of website visitors look at the second section of the landing page. Scroll maps are an overlay on your website or landing page that show how far down your page users scroll down on average. Here's the rule. If less than 30% of visitors scroll past the hero section, keep optimizing for above the fold, like I mentioned before. The rest of the page does not matter because you have to stay laser focused on the hero section, then continue testing down the page. Because on average, it's 20 to 30% of visitors, right? These are the people that scroll down. Why optimize for that 20 to 30% of visitors when they see that section, instead of optimizing for the 100% of visitors that see the hero section? This leads to method 3, the 1-second test. Here's a fun test that will instantly tell you if your hero section is working or not. It's the best way to understand the first impression your landing page gives and how visitors interpret your hero section. By looking at your hero section for only 1 second, you'll effectively see what customers see and what they take away from that hero section image and hero section headline. So here's how to do it. Pull up your landing page, but cover your screen with a piece of paper. Once the page has loaded, remove the paper and look at the page for just 1 second, then cover it up back again. So you ask yourself here, what stood out to you in the image? Do you remember the headline? Where was your eyes drawn to? And of course, you're biased when it comes to your own landing pages. So be cautious when running this test on them. Instead, ask your friends, family, or whatever to run a 1-second test. Ask the testers what stood out. Keep tweaking your hero section before moving on to elements further down the page. So there you have it. That's my execution system for building landing pages that convert, where it's split into 3 key phases. Phase 1 is build, framework first, which is the 5 sections: hero, old way, new way, evidence, call to action. Then you use Framer for structure, Claude for copy, Gemini or ChatGPT for visuals. Phase 2 is optimize using the Hemingway for readability, SaaSlandingpage.com for design quality, and optimizing for page speed. Then it's conversion zone optimization as well. Phase 3 is the measurement of the page, right? Screen recordings, scroll maps, the 1-second test. So that's the execution system, also known as the speedy system from the McDonald's brothers. Specialized roles, pre-proportioned ingredients, choreographed movements, not harder, just a better process. So again, the speedy system is simple. Build, optimize, measure, framework first, tools second, data over opinions. If you implement this, you won't just ship faster, you'll ship smarter. So there you have it. If you like this video, be sure to tap that like button and subscribe button. And if you did find this video useful, I'm pretty sure you'll find this one here really useful as well.